Avid sports fans, we welcome you back to another episode of, it's not just another episode. This is what we live for. KUSI, they've got Prep Pigskin Report. They're all about the fall. Aaron Bergen's all about basketball out at Full-Time Hoops. San Diego Prep Insider, we are all about 11 days in the spring season as we close this
playoffs.
We are as a show all about the fact that golf, lacrosse, volleyball, all that kind of great stuff is happening right now. But specifically, it's the sport that we're the best at, baseball / softball. But this is a baseball-centric show, so let's talk some baseball. As always, we are joined by David Ring, Bodie De Silva. Bodie is joining us on behalf of Scorebook Live. Download their app, visit their website. Dave is joining us on behalf of DR Player Development. Make sure you book your next hitting appointment with him. I will let you guys figure out which one of the two on screen right now is which. It shouldn't be that hard if you've watched any of the other episodes. Let's talk the playoffs. Normally we go like game balls, shout outs, dingers, and stuff. We're going to bring that up as we get bracket through bracket. We're going to go 5 AA through open. So depending on where your team is, you're welcome to skip around to the different spots. I will also always bring up the fact that we have evolved as a show in a way that we're doing things smarter, not harder now. And specifically playoffs, just they bring a smile to my face because I want to say this was year one of us being a show, maybe year two. Dave, Tommy Morris, and I at the time, instead of Bodie, met at Dave's. We used to do it from Canyon Side Cages. This used to be something where we would do like a 15 to 20 minute deep dive on each bracket, and there's just there's a compilation video out there at the bottom of the bin of Dave Ring deliriously tired at like 11:15 at night going, comments? Because he just thought every school's mascot, after a while, it'd be funny if he just said that they were all the Comets.
Remember, I had to keep bending my knees so I wouldn't pass out like someone does at a wedding, you know, and then you're standing there forever, bend.
And so specifically just the baseball playoffs make me smile because we are no longer subjecting Dave to literal torture.
But I was committed. Like I am. I'm still committed.
Yes, but it's now committed. Like we now actually have a fun time doing these playoff shows.
100%.
And this isn't a 45-hour grind to talk about Bonsall versus Comets, even though the Comets aren't Calipatria's mascot or something like that. Hey, look.
That's
also,
a good one.
I will say, yeah. It's also always great to have another chance to bring up a show where we can disrespect Rancho Bernardo. And let's just make sure that is the theme of today's show, because nobody apparently there actually watches these shows. So all of our efforts to
only the team I picked. I mean, all that I've had number one
efforts to laud them and give them great amounts of praise as we have for the past 13 weeks in vain, because the Instagram comment section says we never ever give you guys any love. So the theme of today's episode is playoffs, not for Rancho Bernardo. Let's talk Division 5 AA and go forward. We are recording this one on Thursday, May 16th. So technically today we are at like the perfect eye of the hurricane. Yeah. There are no playoff games happening today. So if you guys are watching this one live, this is all actually relevant information. If you're watching this after the 16th, 50-50 on this still being up to date. So Calvin Christian, Borrego Springs are going at it. Liberty Charter, Victory Christian Academy are the next setup there in the top half of that bracket. Ocean View Christian Academy and Rock Academy are a lot of, we'll call this the Academy Division. Yeah. And then Bonsall, the Comets versus Vincent Memorial Catholic. To get here, Calvin Christian is the 1 seed. They still seem like the team that is heads over heels above, but I just thought we would open up 5 AA for any first 2-round reaction discussion or looking ahead reaction discussion. Bodie, let's start with you.
Yeah, 14-2 dominant win for Calvin Christian after playing a team, Liberty Charter, that was 10-2 in their previous game. Only one win by a road team so far. That was Borrego Springs, and that was 15-7. So maybe they have something. Maybe they have some offense ready to go up against Calvin. But until someone takes down Calvin in a double elimination format, you have to think they're the big favorite here. And down on the bottom, it's 2 versus 3 as well. So be interested to see who emerges out of that. I'm very much expecting Calvin up top, but we'll see if anyone can challenge him.
I like the Rock. They've got a young freshman by the name of Diego Munoz. He's pitching well, hitting well. I like the Rock moving forward out of that bracket there.
You can smell what the Rock is cooking?
Yes, I can.
All right.
Also, shout out to the Rock that cracked my windshield yesterday on the way to the game.
Ouch.
So.
No way.
Ouch.
It'd been a few years, so it was.
The
it
SD
was gonna
Prepsmobile
happen.
is on the IL.
I'm not blaming anyone from Rock Academy, but there was a rock.
At least you weren't on your motorcycle when you got hit by a rock, right?
I would say that.
Yeah, I mean, probably would have been less surface area to hit. But
I will say that most likely it was a parent from Rancho Bernardo throwing a rock at your car. We're gonna do our best to the people out there. Here, look, we do good jobs when we can at production. I will show you. Cutting to this. This is what the brackets look like. So there's not a ton of great stuff that I can bring on camera right now or on screen for you. It's a lot of. I'd have to zoom a ton in, and the bracket like. So I apologize for just listing these off, but we'll do our best at kind of bouncing back and forth to give everybody some information. Division 5, Coastal Academy, the 1 seed there, taking on the actual Kearney Comets. Army, Navy, and Mountain Empire are the other half of that top bracket. Bottom half of the bracket, High Tech San Diego is going to take on Mount Miguel. Orange Glen and El Cajon Valley are in the double elimination half of that bracket. Coastal and Mount Miguel are two of the Coastal Academy and Mount Miguel are two of the schools that we definitely talked about being in the driver's seat. Guys, any first 2 rounds thoughts from D5 and or looking ahead thoughts from D5?
Yeah, a couple surprises there with the 5 Kearney winning, the 6 High Tech High winning, and Orange Glen. So ultimately, I think that just opens it up a little more for Coastal Academy. I was surprised they beat Army Navy by as much as they did. 12-1 is an excellent showing. But as we've talked about in these lower divisions in the past, you have a Kearney, you've got an Orange Glen, and Mount Miguel. I like these public schools that have maybe dropped down to a lower division. Oftentimes you're going to have a bigger roster size, maybe a couple more arms that you can pitch in this format. But the way Coastal's shown so far and what they showed throughout the year to earn that number 1 seed, tough to go against them at this point.
I would agree. Same thing. I mean, these teams are way too tough, too deep. You got to go with roster size at this point for sure.
Are we still thinking Mount Miguel and Coastal Academy as the favorites here? Or is Kearney jump up into that conversation?
Yeah, I think I would want to see what High Tech does now having to travel to Mount Miguel. They got an 8-7 win on the road at Orange Glen. Now they're going to head different part of the county, another road game. If they can pull it off against Mount Miguel, then I think they're absolutely legitimate. They'll have the weekend off. But I think the other thing to go on the opposite side, those smaller roster teams, you don't want to get into that Saturday elimination game and then have to win 3 times the next week. So,
anything else from D5, or can we move on to Division 4?
All good.
All right. In Division 4, I think that I might sound hyperbolic, but I might not based off of the results. This one might be over already. University City came out the gate real strong.
The game ball of all game balls.
Yeah.
Sweetwater, where were your bats at? What happened?
Jack Clark throws second no-hitter of the season.
Correct.
And
hit one batter.
But we
faced one over the minimum.
And this is on a serious note. We talked about all season the historical numbers of coaches and big wins, and that being our milestone. We've had 2 pitchers throw 2 no-hitters each this season.
3
pitchers throw 2 no-hitters. Apologies.
Zane Nordquist and Cooper Walls.
Cooper Walls was the one that I had left out.
And
there.
And
now
Blackjack.
Blackjack
Clark.
Blackjack Clark. I like that.
Man, what a guy, dude.
And also
numbers or something.
And also, it's kind of weird. Jax wasn't back-to-back starts, but all of them coming in pretty quick succession for these guys. It wasn't like Zane threw one at the beginning and the end of the season. Like back-to-back starts, Jack throws them, 2 starts apart or something like that, 2 or 3 starts apart. I don't remember where Cooper's were, but I feel like they weren't all that far apart. It was within the same
Cooper
month.
was, opening day against Hilltop, and maybe a month later.
So I don't know what that means. Statistically, it's just another one that feels kind of weird.
Yeah, but Jack's other one was against San Diego High 2 starts ago.
2 starts ago, yeah. Okay, so it's going to be UC and Morse. Other side of that bracket is going to be Sweetwater Valley Center. Down to the bottom, Imperial, Monte Vista, Escondido Charter, Palo Verde Valley. I had said that I like Monte Vista also as a team that can give some challenge, but a no-hitter, 7-0 win out the gate. I don't know how to sit here and make any sort of argument and conversation about, hey, the rest of this can actually still be like, it seems like UC's just kind of one of those teams that every year we get one division that's a blowout. Your thoughts?
Well, and their confidence too. I mean, it's incredible that Jack's curveball that game was. I mean, they're frozen. I saw a lot of no swings too. When you're getting guys
them up.
just locked up like that, it's pretty incredible. But like Christian said, the confidence that they're playing with the offense. They had a couple big games out of Mateo. Josh Kaplan's hitting every game there, man. I mean, they got a really solid squad with some mojo. They're celebrating. They're having a lot of fun. I think this is probably one of the better squads we've seen at UC in a long time.
They've got Tatis dancing in the dugout, level of fun going on.
It's like when they get to second base kind of thing. Yeah, man, that just looks like a lot of fun out there.
Can I say that is a generational thing, the doing something at second base that I feel like I didn't even get.
No.
Let alone, nobody up until 5 years ago
recent.
got that. And, bro,
so many variations
I hit
now.
a ton of doubles, and I wouldn't have been doing a ton of them. But the having that as a thing that's culturally okay.
It's weird. It's weird and fun at the same time. Did you see the second baseman for the Diamondbacks, Ketel Marte, field a ground ball, do a little shimmy, and then throw it to first base? It was, such a bad example for the youth, but
fun nonetheless.
Yeah, fun nonetheless. But he made the play. But
so maybe I'm not all advocating for all out anarchy, but I like that we are spending the season talking about bat flips and
lots of fun, man. And it was a home game for UC too, so it was like just absolute vibes. Speaking of vibes, so some of those open division games.
We're in Division 4. Dave, we're in Division 4.
Sorry.
I think just to add on Division 4, as impressive as University City was, I did pick them to win this bracket. Imperial, 15-1 win, Monte Vista, 12-1 win. So those teams clearly have some offense too.
Yep.
It'll be fun if we can see that, a potential Jack Clark against an Imperial or Monte Vista final, to see what those offenses are. We're getting a little ahead of it there, but on their side of the bracket, you have to feel pretty confident. But shout out to Morse. They got by that first game 18-0. Then they went to Valley Center, won again. Now they're going to get their shot against UC tomorrow. So,
and that's where I struggled a little bit because I don't want to dismiss these teams, but that start by UC is amazing. But both Imperial and
they've
Monte
been rolling.
Vista,
it's not just one. Like they've been just. You look at what they've done.
I was gonna say that Imperial Monte Vista very well could end up being 2 or 3 games.
Yeah,
depending on wins and losses, and that might just be the actual best part of this whole playoff bracket, because those two teams seem really evenly matched. And if we get basically a best of 3 series between Imperial and Monte Vista over the next week,
whoever loses tomorrow and then comes back, and then they have to play twice next week.
And so I'm saying that might be the actual fun.
Morse has got the swag chain after the game.
Oh, I like it.
Okay. Dave, why do you take your mic away?
Morse has got vibes. They get the swag chain after the game to the player of the game. It's legit. It comes out of a briefcase. Yes. That's the vibes that we're talking about.
That's how I would like to see that be how Joe Hines presents the trophies this year. It brings out just a briefcase, and you have the CIF office,
and then it's 100%.
Yep.
So much more fun.
Get on it, Joe. I think I'm supposed to call him Mr. Commissioner. Anything else from D4, or can we move on to D3?
That one will be
That was
fun
a fun
to
bracket to cover for sure.
It's a fun bracket,
no
matter what. D3, we've got Calexico, Valhalla, the 1 seed. Calexico, the 4 in the losers bracket side, or the double elimination part of that. We have La Jolla and Brawley. Other side, we got San Ysidro, Mira Mesa, Mira Mesa squaring off, and in the double elimination part, we have El Camino, Southwest, El Centro. This is one where we had started to talk about D3 and up. There's depth. There's all sorts of different permutations of how you could arrive at a team winning a championship here. San Ysidro, I think, is the surprise
For
of
sure.
the bracket, but Mira Mesa is also a lower seeded team that has performed an upset. So that game in itself is a blast to see San Ysidro and Mira Mesa proving the point of why you do the playoffs. On the other side, Valhalla, they're not a defending champ, so I'm not going to hit them with the I believe in them until I see otherwise.
But man, this roll.
But they're on fire.
Yeah.
They're hot. They're 6-0 out the gate against La Jolla. Leaves me not with a ton of reason to think that they will overwhelmingly struggle. Calexico, really good team. They will give them a good run for their money. I think it's crazy that this one, weirdly enough, the entire inland area is in it. We got El Centro, Brawley, Calexico, all in this bracket. That's kind of, again, I don't know what any of this stuff means statistically speaking. Guys, your thoughts, though, on Division 3?
Yeah, I think, and shout out to Brawley after me picking Ramona as my sleeper team and beating them 13-1 in the elimination game. So Brawley took care of that one early there. But yeah, I'm very much surprised on the bottom side here. I felt very confident that El Camino and Southwest El Centro would get by. San Ysidro, 2 straight 3-2 wins, so that definitely speaks well for them. They know how to pitch, defend, keep this one close, and know how to finish off a game. And taking down Zane Nordquist, that's a big accomplishment there for San Ysidro. And Mira Mesa, 17-2 in their opener. Follow it up. They have to go out to Southwest El Centro, come back with a 6-4 win. Now they're in a real good spot. Having to play, they're going to go at San Ysidro, and winner gets the weekend off. So El Camino and Southwest, I'm very shocked that's an elimination game on Friday night, but
I know, right?
that's how these playoffs work sometimes. Calexico on the other side, I've seen Calexico. They can really hit the ball. They've got their couple vans when they've had to make these trips throughout the year. I saw them at Maranatha. I saw them at Valhalla. They'll be ready for this trip. They'll be coming back to Valhalla. And, Andres Ontiveros, when you look at those numbers, I think the last 2 years is on-base percentage of .550 with 15 home runs, just mashes the ball.
Yep.
So be careful if
That's for
Valhalla,
Calexico, right?
For Calexico, yeah. So be careful if Valhalla leaves anything there. But, no shock. There's some surprises. There always is. I'm just a little surprised that it is El Camino and Southwest that are gonna have to play this elimination game.
There's also a guy in Calexico, Davian Ramirez. He's at 412, 40 hits. I mean, when you're at the 40
How many
hit,
of those hits are swamp donkeys?
at this point, I gotta see the tape, but I'm sure he hits a few yabos like Andres, right? And then, like Bodie said, I mean, Mira Mesa, Zarek Zamora, he's still hitting 415, 27 hits on the season. That's really impressive, no matter where you're playing, no matter if you're in a D3, D1. I mean, 415, 3 doubles, lots of hits, man, 26 games. It's a hit a game.
Yeah, it feels like Mira Mesa, and it's on a lesser scale right now than Valhalla, but it feels like they've found something. So, and San Ysidro knows how to win these close games, so that's a really fun game on Friday.
If we should come up with a scale of hotness.
Yeah.
If Valhalla
From 0 to Valhalla.
No, like I'm saying, more of like the sun is the hottest. And like lava is one step down, and so if you're saying, oh, where's Valhalla? Valhalla's the sun right now, and Mira Mesa is, hot asphalt in Arizona on a summer day or something like that. Like we got to come up with a very specific scale of heat so we can reference all of that. Dave, any other thoughts on D3?
No, that's it for me. I think that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out and see if El Camino can get past.
Yeah,
that's
a
game
good
and
game,
then get
Work
back to their
whole
horse, right? Yeah. And I mean, anything can happen. You hear it all the time. One at bat can change a game. One win, no matter what bracket you're in, can change the course of.
Yeah, you got one extra
season.
pitcher that throws that Saturday elimination game, and
exactly.
You're back on track. So
baseball's an interesting game in that sense.
Yes, you can more or less make the argument that San Ysidro winning that San Ysidro winning their second game affected the whole bracket.
Yeah,
like it is not just that it affected San Ysidro and El Camino's trajectory, that it was the first domino that knocked this whole bracket into a chaotic alternate reality.
As I always say in double elimination, win the first game and then win the second game.
And then win the third.
Well, if you win the first two, you're set up pretty well. You get the weekend off, and that's the bonus.
All All right, let's move on to Division 2. This one, I'm just going to read off the teams. Point Loma, Maranatha, Scripps, Coronado, Helix, SFC, Bonita Vista, Madison. There is not a sport in San Diego, in CIF San Diego high school sports.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect timing.
Same as usual.
We discussed Point Loma, and look who shows up. The Point Loma pointer. She's not a pointer, but she is pointing right at her best friend Dave Ring. If I gave you any sport, Bodie, football, softball, basketball, and I listed off those schools, you'd be like,
yeah, what a mix.
Yes. You would be like, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'll say yes to that. That is going to be a fun bracket. But to do that in a baseball scenario where Point Loma and SFC have two of the best individual overall players in the entire section.
Yeah. If you were to make up a draft board of seniors, those two are going to be at the top of that one.
We will make up a draft board of seniors. It happens at the end of the year. But to just look at this top to bottom, you're like, any one of those to win this baseball championship, I wholeheartedly endorse. There's not a single fluke team in that bracket. So the games themselves, we've got Point Loma facing Maranatha with Scripps and Coronado in the consolation side. Helix and SFC, excuse me. Helix and SFC will be playing, and then Bonita and Madison are down in the consolation of that half of the bracket. Your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I think up top, Point Loma through Will Sanford, they were down, they came back, got that win. I think that if you were to lose with your ace on the mound, I think that's one that could be really crushing. They don't need to worry about it. They came back. And Maranatha is a team, they've played a good schedule throughout. They were very competitive in the Coastal League. Yeah, and for them to take down Coronado. So that's a really fun one there. On the other side, shout out to Helix. They were in a tough league throughout the year. They weren't at the top of that league. We know what some of those teams are, but for them to come through 4-2 over Westview, then go to Bonita and win that one 3-2, it's kind of like San Ysidro, I feel like, from a division below. So Santa Fe set up well. They got that win over Madison. Santa Fe's in a really good spot if they can take down Helix tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, and Levi Ham went full Yabo.
Another homer.
Another number 11 in that game. Point Loma is just rolling right now. Another one-run victory.
Point Loma had a slow start to the season, right?
Yeah, and they had, I think 5 or 6 ties.
Yeah.
But even then, once they got into league, they got comfortable. They won 2 games over Saints. They had a 9-inning tie against Patrick Henry. It's pretty clear how they're going to play at this point. It's going to be low scoring. It's going to be tight. 3 wins might win it for them. And yeah, they survived staying out of the loser side to begin with.
And I would be curious if this is. There's my mic. I'd be curious if this ends up being the division that has the smallest total margin of victory for the champion. Like if Point Loma, you say if they win those 3 games, but if they win them all by 1 or 2 runs, like to be a champion with only a total or a total run differential of 5 or 6 runs when you have some of these other brackets where teams are winning.
And Bonita Vista is tough, man. I mean, they've got some pitching.
Any one of these is tough.
Yeah, they got some pitching left.
Madison too, because Madison, like Christian, was in that league all year. Saints and Cathedral and Henry and Point Loma. It's just like every 2-game series was like good luck. But I think ultimately it helped Madison. They went on the road and beat Classical to start. They couldn't get by Santa Fe, but they're still alive. You got a shot against Bonita.
Yeah, Santa Fe is a well-coached team this year. I mean, they've got some other dudes besides Haferkamp that are really
freshman
doing it.
Kyle Plasman's had a great first season.
100%.
So there's a lot of talent on that roster. It's why I went chalk and picked Point Loma versus Santa Fe in the final here. Not as interesting.
We still like Point Loma at this point. There's a interest in any of these being an upset. Are we cruising towards Point Loma SFC?
Yes.
Yeah, I tend to think that way. I would be interested in the strategy of if you assume Point Loma wins tomorrow, when they come back next week in the semi, do they not throw Will Sanford in hopes of you win that and now you have a fully rested Sanford to take on Santa Fe in the final or whoever it would be from the bottom? And I'll get to that here in a second in Division I, but the whole strategy of when you use your pitcher at what time, I think you're going to have to take some risks. We saw Granite do that yesterday with not throwing Brendan Lewis in their opener. So I think ultimately you can't just throw out the same thing every time. You got to take a risk, and that's how you get a championship.
I think it's going to come to him. Madison has some life in them, but they've really struggled to hit at times. And if they run into another good pitcher, I say I got Bonita Vista moving on to play at the next stage, and that's going to be a fun one when it comes down to, who passes, gets through that little end of the bracket there and really, like, you saw Ishmael Castellani. He committed last week. He'll probably be, I think he threw last game. He'll be ready to go again. Just dudes on the mound this year. Yep. It's been a constant, theme of the season. You're running into some pitching, as we see in each of these divisions, man. It is hard to get knocks these days. It's hard to hit swamp donkeys.
Hard to hit any sort of donkeys. Weird, another, this is a season statistical. I don't know what this means. Someone scored 3 in every one of the quarterfinal D2 games.
Wow.
Sometimes it was the winning team, sometimes it was the losing team. But again,
there you go.
I don't know what any of this means. Maybe this just means that I'm tired after 2 months of having a kid, and things are just funnier to me. Division 1, thanks, Dave.
So true. Deliriously funny.
Division 1 is another one where if I told you LCC and San Marcos were playing, Sage Creek and La Jolla Country Day were playing, Montgomery and Poway, Del Norte and Santana, if you were watching...
Get the angles.
Can I get a photo back of that? I'll post this onto this is what we're watching.
And then I'll get a zoomed out one of photo to photo.
I'll post this on the story so everyone knows what I'm looking at while I record this. This was another one where if I told you all of these schools were playing, you'd be like, that would be the great... Oh, man, I think my mic was off for most of that. So hopefully people can hear me in the background. So LCC playing San Marcos, Sage and Country Day, Montgomery and Poway, Del Norte, Santana. Every one of these teams has a great pedigree in baseball.
Yeah.
And you can believe any one of these being champs. LCC and Poway being the 1 and 2 seed, I think there is always, historically speaking, a little bit of a tip of the cap given to the top 2 or 3 seeds of a Division 1 playoff, saying that, well, do something here and there, and you could have been an open division team.
Yeah.
But we've seen Sage Creek play 12 in a row to be a champion. We've seen San Marcos hit millions of home runs in short spans. Montgomery has destiny on their side.
Momentum right now.
That it's that it's Manny's last seat. Like, Dave, let's start with you. Your thoughts on the first couple rounds here and going forward on D1.
Well, I thought huge victory for San Marcos. They walked it off against La Jolla Country Day, 3-2 victory. Max Farrell with a huge knock. I mean, La Jolla Country Day is so tough. I do think that, San Marcos, this turns into one of the coolest brackets for me because now it's San Marcos LCC. And
they just played their league series.
Really turns into a cool rivalry game type of bracket here. And I think it just adds to the allure of this bracket. And then you got Sage Creek Country Day now, which, the hitters on Country Day, Jack Circuit up to 10 home runs, Jackson Norum up to 8 home runs. So you could probably give them credit for being one of the biggest home run hitting teams in the county.
And that'll be at Country Day, a place where they're
against
used to hit.
Sage Creek's pitching, and we know how those guys throw. I mean, that's really going to turn into a fun bracket for me. And in my opinion, that Montgomery, always a good squad, shut down Del Norte, which I don't think is going to happen again, when they move forward. Del Norte is going to play. Who are they playing next?
Santana.
That's right. They go down to the bottom there. I don't think that's going to happen against Santana. Del Norte is a really good team. They just ran into a Montgomery team that can shut down any squad, win really good close games with pitching and defense, like we always see. And then look at Poway. I mean, they're poised to win. They beat Santana. Got to give a shout out to them and the season that they're having here.
Yeah, I think up top, La Costa is a little short on pitching right now. Cooper Walls has not been pitching the last few weeks, so they went with Stunner Gonzalez. Certainly a good option when you got a pitcher going to LSU there. He gets them by that win against Sage. I went and saw Sage Creek Christian on Tuesday, and what I thought was really interesting in that game, Sage Creek goes for 8 runs in the first inning. They've got Porter Rovin on the mound. So after an inning and 2/3, 23 pitches, they pull him out. So, which I love that strategy, because by doing so, you're like, okay, we have enough guys that can cover us through the rest of this game. They went on to win 10-6. Big 3-run bomb by Christian there at the end. I know had that dugout fired up to finish the season on that note. But for Porter Rovin now, he can come back. They need him in that elimination game tomorrow at Country Day. We know Country Day hits bombs at home, so that'll be a fun one. I would have to assume that Porter will be the pitcher in that one. San Marcos getting that win, now having to travel to La Costa. When they just played their series, La Costa won the 2 games at San Marcos won the one at La Costa, so we'll see what happens there. And Del Norte, it definitely feels like, we know it's Manny's last year, but as an 11 seed, they went on the road, took down Grossmont 2-0. Then they go to Del Norte, the team who I picked to win this bracket, took down them 4-1. Now they're a game against Poway from having the week off. So, and then you have to talk about Poway because they're kind of on this Valhalla track where league play came around and suddenly they moved to the top right there, and we're running through some really quality teams like Sage Creek and like Mission Hills. And so, yeah, that Poway Montgomery game on Friday, that winner has a huge advantage, I think, here. Getting the weekend off, coming back Tuesday, and just being one win away from a potential game. So I expect Del Norte to come back and be up in that bracket again, but they'll have to do something like what Sage Creek did last year and win, whether it's
they have
6
Cole
games
Hoffman.
in 8 days, whatever it may be. So
Cole Hoffman can shut down any team. I think he's Del Norte's probably best pitcher right now. Lefty. I mean, gosh, who knows, man? What a good, fun bracket. I mean, I love how this is almost like, I'll call this the rivalry bracket right here.
Yeah, the parity, I think, throughout the top 10 teams and so much of Division I throughout the year is made for this fun bracket. I know Montgomery's a quality team. I wouldn't have seen them starting off 2-0, outscoring teams 6-1 to get to this point.
Yeah, they just weren't playing that well.
Yeah, but you never, something clicked
But then
maybe.
again, they're playing Eastlake in teams all year.
Exactly. That's fair too. Bonita.
It's tough. Bonita Vista. Yeah, those teams are all really tough, man. Poised.
Yep.
Let's move on.
No, good for open.
Gotta start turning my mic back on. I'm spending my time talking to the intern, giving her some advice on boundaries. She's not listening. On to open division. Rancho Bernardo, the number 1 seeded team that I will remind everybody out there we discussed many times as being a very good baseball team all season long. They are going to be taking on St. Augustine. Eastlake.
Oh, what a game there, yeah.
Let's go. Eastlake and Cathedral Catholic are the double
Elimination, yeah.
They are the double elimination side of that bracket. Granite Hills, Torrey Pines is on the winner's track on the other side of the bracket, and then Patrick Henry Carlsbad is in the double elimination part there. So, thought on the opening round games, thoughts on this round of games going forward.
Yeah. So I was out at Rancho Bernardo yesterday, looking forward to that one. Eastlake is not your typical 8 seed. Eastlake is the only ever 8 seed to win the Open Division. They did that back in 2021. Every time Eastlake's ever made the Open Division, they've gotten to the semis or more. And that was a really close game, 1-1 into the 6th inning. Rancho Bernardo had first and second, couldn't get the bunt down. Hugo Gonzalez comes up, rips one over the center fielder's head, and suddenly it's a game-winning 2-run double and a 3-1 Rancho Bernardo win. So they advanced there, and that St. Augustine game will be a lot of fun. They both threw their aces, so next guy up will be there, but we know what that Saints offense is. They got a huge extra inning grand slam from Raphael Dunn, who had transferred from Cathedral, so there's just a little extra juice there. And Eastlake Cathedral in an elimination game. I mean, on a Friday, if you like baseball, get out to one of these games. It's just the matchups are incredible. And then Torrey Pines and Granite Hills, the 2 versus 3, they both held their own. I thought was interesting on Granite Hills' side, they pitched Luke Bailey, the Christian transfer. They did not throw Brendan Lewis. It paid off, so now they will have Brendan ready to go, I would assume, to pitch on Friday. And Torrey Pines expected to pitch Brendan Miller, who has a complete game shutout over Granite Hills from earlier in the year. So fun one there. And Patrick Henry and Carlsbad down on the bottom. I saw them play back in the Lions tournament. I think that game was 14-1 for Henry. I am certain tomorrow's game will not be 14-1 for Henry, but I think it'll be the same pitching matchup, Wyatt Thornberry and Cody Capoletti. So they'll get their chances there, and the winner will have to come back Saturday. So as always, that winning those first 2 in a row is just such a huge advantage. Reset your pitching, come back the next week. So all eyes on who can do that. I know I picked 1 versus 2 in this bracket. It's so even. I just had to go with 2 pitching staffs I trust who are going to have the home field advantage. Doesn't mean it'll happen that way, but so far it's looked okay.
Dave, you had specifically said at the beginning of the show that you couldn't wait to talk about the vibes in this bracket, so I'm curious.
Well, I went to
a
a Saints Cathedral game last week. I went to senior night just to kind of check out the game. Obviously, I know a bunch of guys on both sides, and
what an atmosphere!
And I saw Bodie at the game, and it was just electric.
Standing room only, hundreds of people.
It was absolutely electric. It had me feeling like it was a college game feel. Obviously, we're at Cathedral, and the field there is just immaculate. You're in a cathedral. It's like it's unreal there.
New video board, everything, yeah.
And then you see the highlights of the game yesterday, and it's 4-4 in the 8th, and Rafi Dunn comes up and hits an absolute pimp job, man. For those that didn't see it, man, it would be like if Christian fired me from the show and I went to another show. And after I did the segment, I was like, boom, and I slammed the mic down.
This is going to be a joke that's only going to land for a couple people, but that's called the Chris Smith segment.
As hard as I possibly could. That was the done bat flip. I mean, it was
made Bodie laugh.
It was yeah. When Bodie laughs, you know. But I mean, the electricity at that game, it just had me fired up. I can't say enough about both teams and how supportive their parents are of the show. Both those teams win Parents of the Year. We know what team doesn't.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Country Day.
And, you know.
Completely joking, Country Day.
And, you know, we got an interesting game coming up here. Eastlake Cathedral, it feels like the open division of old, where this kind of is like, you know, a rematch. It's going to come down to one of those teams versus a tough RB team who seems like they've got it all together right now. I mean, pitching well.
Yeah, we'll see. You can't count out Saints, but they got to have the pitch. I mean, I've seen it so often. Guys go into RB, and if you don't have your pitching together, RB will loft some balls over that left field wall.
Yeah.
So, but Saints has the lineup; they can do it right back. So that one I have circled. That'll be a real fun game. See if
they take that momentum from that game, right?
Yeah, who can kind of reset the rotation going into the following week. And
Eastlake is just as poised as usual. I mean, I think they've got to get some love from us on, you know, Angel Laya. He's having a almost just right under 400 season. We could see him getting drafted next year if he has another big season back to back. I mean,
yeah, and we didn't, and they didn't rise as high for me throughout the year. They weren't in that league where they're taking on top 10 teams throughout. It's a really good Eastlake team. They'd won 13 in a row going into that Rancho Bernardo game. It's 1-1 in the 6th, and credit to these 8 open division teams for all posting statistics throughout the year online. Always appreciate that. Not always a given with some of these teams, but all 8 of these guys did that. And I thought I went through and did some open division numbers that were interesting for Rancho Bernardo. They're the only team to have made the open division every year. For Patrick Henry, this is the first time they've made the open division. And just going through, we've only ever had 6 schools that have won an open division title: Eastlake, La Costa.
That's a somewhat misleading title because there's 6 schools in what, 10 years?
Is this the 12th?
12th year?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, okay.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Good deal.
But it's about the 6 you'd expect. Eastlake, La Costa, Rancho Bernardo, Torrey, Granite Hills, and Cathedral. And we've got 5 of those 6 represented in this year. So we'll see if.
Yeah, and then like Saints, man, I mean, they've got pitching, I think, deep. They've got the closer and Ryan Popkins, you know, Shane Miranda, Justin Heffler. Ray Ramirez, we talked about him earlier in the year. Mikey Ruiz. I mean, these are pretty much the usual suspects on offense who, I don't think they're going to slow down. I don't think RB has a chance to slow down the Saints hitting, or I got Saints as my number one team going into these brackets, even though the open division was kind of, number different. I just felt like, I feel like that's where the solidity of the team, and from top to bottom, they've got the starting pitching. And Grayson Bowles really looked good yesterday. He started off a little bit slow in the beginning of the game, but I mean, when he gets the feel of that curveball and when he's locating his fastball, his stuff is it feels like it jumps on you because he's so tall, and so he doesn't need to throw 95.
Yeah,
it feels like it's 95
that's
and kind of on top of you. So
he's one of those players you go see in person, and it's kind of what you'd create the player to look like. I mean, for a junior to be that size already, and it's not, he needs to add weight, he needs to add strength. Like he there's a reason Texas is taking that commitment at this point.
Well, and he's got good genes. I mean, his dad was a pitcher
coming out of a briefcase after the game.
If you see his dad at the games, you're like, that guy played baseball a little bit too, probably, and he used to throw 95 also. I mean, just he's got big old meat hooks for hands. It's going to be fun to see how this bracket kind of plays out.
Are meat hooks the ultimate weapon to fight against a swamp donkey with?
100%.
Fantasy draft time.
100%. That's the next two teams in the league that the Savannah Bananas play in.
No, we should invent a game like instead of rock, paper, scissors, it's like meat hook, swamp donkey, and something else.
Yeah, the Yabos.
Meat hook, swamp
what
donkey.
beats each other?
Exactly. Frickin' bola.
I think when I look up and down at this bracket, I see teams that 1, 2, 4 of these I voted for in the media poll to be the number one team at a different point this year.
Exactly.
All of these teams to me. Oh no, 5. I forgot. One of them I had early season as number one. All of these teams have received top 5, maybe even top 3 vote. Like, this has been a weirdly interchangeable year. And I know you guys are talking about
I think more than really probably I can remember.
When you guys are talking about how RB, if you got to go there, if you're not straight, like with everything, they're going to beat you. And it seems like you guys are leaning a little bit in the direction of this is RB's bracket to lose. At least I don't see that sense of confidence. And this is not me hating RB. For me, like I'm saying, of these 8, 5 have been a number one team at one point. Like any of these teams seem capable of the next 3 games could be 3 almost immaculately played baseball games. And that's where you
just pick your favorite, basically.
I completely agree because it's kind of what I wrote in the write-up of like, it was a cop-out that I took 1 versus 2, but it was just, hey, I like their pitching and they're going to be at home throughout. But this doesn't mean that Saints can't go win at RB tomorrow and suddenly RB has to come back on a Saturday morning against Cathedral or Eastlake and you're on your number 3 pitcher and suddenly there's a 2-run shot and you're in big trouble. I
think I'm also just saying that to me that there's no team that runs into they're out of pitching, they're out of like all of these teams, even if they go into the 2-game elimination side, you're just like, okay, it's not the easiest path anymore.
Our roster is very talented. Like there's guys who can fill innings, and there's a lot of guys who can.
Like we saw when we went to one of the games. I mean, the game was 5-0 at the Saints Cathedral game, and they brought in a dude that was chucking it. I mean, plays second base, but
Vincent Venverlo was the reliever.
It's just they got guys right and pulling the right fielder. You remember those days? It's like you don't call in the bullpen. You
go switch out the glove. And
you call in the second baseman.
That's as baseball is supposed to be played at the high school level.
I know, exactly.
Maybe even a little bit at the college level too.
There's only a few POs in high school. Really, it's not as many.
If you are a high school PO, one of 2 things is happening. Either you are truly a gifted pitcher, and you are going to be blown out of both a UCL and an enjoyment of baseball by the time you're a junior in college.
That'd be another fun
because
team.
You've only
the
been
POs.
focusing on one thing. Or 2 is you truly are just that god awful at hitting. And it happens to some people where as soon as the ball starts going faster than 70 and then mix in a curveball, it's just like hitting.
Sounds like the next travel org. The POs, strictly focused on pitching, no defense, no hitting.
Well, that's sort of, that would be like, you'd be like that football coach that only goes for it on fourth down ever type of thing. Like just assembling a team of POs of like, we're gonna
be an interesting experiment.
We're gonna pitch
for
like
sure.
no other. And we're going to have everyone else do Roger Dorn from Major League 2 and just kind of try to lean in and get hit by the pitch.
The high school coach in
Arkansas,
does,
no
punting.
defense.
Yeah, exactly. The no punting, no special teams.
Everyone
not going
learns
to
to
play
punt.
defense. We're gonna have a bunch of guys with the little pitcher's gloves holding all the fielding positions. And you're like, that's not a first baseman's glove. Oh, you don't own a first baseman's glove? Oh, okay. That'll be all. We already agreed. All CIF this year was going to be nothing but pitchers. But yeah, so I look at this and I still, to me, I can make a case for any one of these teams winning it. Yeah. So I don't know who is going to come out, but between this one and the D1 champion and even to like a little extent the D2 champ, we're going to have some really good state reps.
Yeah.
We're going to have some really, really good, well-deserved champions. And like Dave was saying, the vibes are going to be absolutely immaculate Thursday the 23rd.
I've never heard a high school game that loud.
At USD Ron Fowler Stadium.
So loud.
And a doubleheader because D1 will be at 4, open at 7, so that'll be a fun day.
It's going to be amazing. Anything else this week, guys? Any game balls, shout-outs, dingers, yabos, anything like that we didn't get to?
I hope we fueled the fire of every team this week. I hope that
comments.
I hope that if you needed fuel to play better, you got it from the podcast this week.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to see a week from now or whenever the next show ends up being which of the teams that started with a loss is still alive at that point, because we know there'll be at least one, probably be a couple who kind of took that loss, like Sage last year. You turn it around and you pull off 5-6 wins in a row and you're back to being a champion. So.
Or if we wind up with or we could be here.
Or just node.
Yeah, we could be back here 1 week from now with nothing but chalk, and it's all one seeds rolling into the. Yes, exactly. And then also, just here's a preview. We're going to fire Dave at the last episode just to see him go over to some other outlet.
Oh,
he's going to just show up in the background of Jake Savicki's next podcast, just spike a mic.
That wasn't even the best part of the show. It was when Bodie laughed, and I didn't even know why. It was.
We'll explain the joke to you afterwards.
It was good, I'll tell you that.
That was awesome.
Which is weird because Bodie laughs at maybe 2.5% of my jokes. All right, we'll talk to you guys next week.